endorsed it. Oh, yes.
You say not going to?
No, it'll work. But it is crypto, people.
Yeah, I think we're looking
Miss
good.
Bitcoin uncensored.
Me too. I really do.
DeRose was one of the first ones to like call out people on everything. Well, he's even hated Augur since the beginning. They haven't launched yet.
Who is this?
Yeah.
Chris DeRose.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite thing they ever did was have
Check,
John
check.
McAfee on and troll the fuck out of him. Because
I think it's
him and
not a
Junseth
favorite
know like,
conference, right?
yeah, it was. I was literally watching them, and then I re-watched it on. It was great. It was like 30 minutes of them like just showing how John McAfee
Doesn't
is
know
like
anything.
out of his depth. Like obviously he knows a little bit, but like not as much as people think he does.
He's way more
And
interested in selling
DeRose-
tweets than.
Yeah, DeRose and Junseth were just like trolling him so fucking hard. It was unbelievable. They don't
Dude.
give a fuck.
When they split off, I followed DeRose because I thought that's like what I actually liked about the show.
More than Junseth?
Yeah, and I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't talking about what I wanted to hear, so I abandoned it. And then I didn't even know that John Seth was doing his own thing for quite a while.
Yeah, what is he
Found
doing?
their
I don't know what he's doing. I've
There's
just
a
seen.
show called John Seth's World that is way more like Bitcoin Uncensored. It's not as good,
Yeah.
but if you want...
What is
something
DeRose
like-
doing now? I just see him like he's always doing weird
I
shit.
think he still has the Bitcoin Uncensored.
He's on like a feminist
channel.
crusade.
Oh yeah, no, well,
So
yeah, but
random.
it's very, but it's very. I don't even know how to say it.
Oh, shoot.
He's being super sarcastic about it,
Yeah.
Is he?
which I
It's
think
hard
is
for me
fun.
to
He's
tell.
just
I
try-
don't keep
Yeah,
close
yeah.
enough eye on
He's
him.
being very sarcastic. Just that. What is it called? That's like kind of his whole point, where it's like.
I know girls that feel that way as well.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
You
That's
guys wanna
that's the.
talk about You can generate some hate that way, get some hate advertising.
Yeah. Live.
And, well, they still have all these initiatives, but they're still not that like. It's still dominated by men.
Yeah.
Check.
How much longer we got?
Most dudes don't want to program because it's not necessarily fun. You know, it depends on who you are. Some people like doing that stuff and are good at it, but most people don't like it.
Can one of you guys check the Facebook feed to make sure that you can hear us all right?
Do you want me
I can bring my laptop.
Oh, you can do it from your phone.
I don't have the Facebook app. I'm useless to you.
Yeah, I don't have the Facebook.
But Brett
app
got
either.
you. Gots.
The flow's looking good.
The flow? Oh yeah, thank you. I'm gonna lop it off real soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably next week.
That's like I'm thinking of getting rid of this relatively soon. It's been plenty fun, but
The whole thing, or
yep,
just gonna trim it a little bit.
it'll be the whole thing. When I
Completely bald.
when I get rid of it, it will be
Shaving my head.
It will be gone.
I had a buzz cut till I was 21.
All right.
Fun fact for the audience. I don't know if you guys are listening.
Fuck. I don't know if they have audio. Is this
Uh,
one
you
me?
turned
This
me
one's
off.
not me.
Turn
Sorry.
me off.
Is this crypto comedy hour?
Is
that
this
what we're
one
changing
me?
this
Is
to?
this one
More of a
me?
fun-
This one me? I still can't tell. I have no idea. I'm
Well,
betting it's
mine
not.
doesn't. There doesn't
Hello?
seem like it's
okay,
working.
I found mine. I think I screwed you. How's that?
I don't know, what the
Better?
fuck? What am I connected
Worse?
to? AT&T,
Too loud?
fuck.
Quiet?
What are you, Are you Captain Slade? Yeah.
Captain Slade. I have the password.
I have it.
Okay.
It just automatically connects me to the.
That is quite the thumbnail. This is. Do you have a second? This is the thumbnail you should steal.
People are funny.
Oh my God! Someone put up something funny. Someone's been putting up something on PornHub
whereas like it's like the title's like a bunch of people getting wrecked or fucked or something like that, and it's just like a picture of some like cryptocurrency price chart that's just tanking.
Right.
The title's like a bunch of people.
My bad. Sorry. Sound.
Well, at least the sound's working all right. It sounds like.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I forgot which price chart it was. Why is my internet not working? There we go.
No matter how much time I spend, there's never quite enough time for me. HGF USB video capture. Yes, we're going.
Yeah, you were on here.
Desktop audio. We'll start off with your PornHub if that's all
Oh,
right.
fantastic. My mom watches these.
This is the Captain Crypto Show. Navigating the treacheries of currency to help you arrive at port safely and secure your loot. Here's your host, Kylan Hurt.
All right, ladies and gents, welcome aboard to the Captain Crypto Show. I hope that I timed that right. Today, it is April 17th, 2018. That means it's another round of your Captain's Council. Off to my left, I am joined by Maverick,
Yo.
the man who follows the beat of his own drum. And then, of course, off to my right, we got Jackson.
I follow the crowd.
He follows the crowd. We got all sorts of people on today, all sorts of hosts. So there's a lot going on in the world of cryptocurrency. I guess we should start off with the price because it seems like it's starting to rebound a little bit.
Host.
Go
I
ahead.
can't hear my headphones.
Let's see
That
here.
was
Yeah,
my fault.
I need
Other
help here.
host. I think
Sorry,
I turned
guys.
that
Sorry,
down.
guys. Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
We're still learning.
Check,
oh,
check. You
that's
heard it?
beautiful. Yes.
Okay,
I can
so
hear your wonderful voice.
yeah, so the price seems more or less like it's been recovering a bit, and I was curious if you guys think this is the beginning of an actual recovery or not, because I'm hearing a lot of people say a lot of different things, and the one thing that I'm always reminded of is that in the past we've never really known for sure. Even if you think things are about to recover, something happens and they take a further plunge. So I'm curious: is this rebound for real?
I think the past is the present on that for sure. We don't know what the price is going to do. Have you guys heard the price talk that it's all the decline has been driven by people selling to pay taxes lately?
Yeah.
I have heard that, and that would be in line with what's happened, right?
It's going
Because
to
now
cause some downward pressure.
Yeah, I would agree that that actually did contribute to the downturn. But I don't know that some people think, okay, after April 17th, everybody's paid their taxes, we're going up. I don't see that. It's not like people are getting tax refunds and they're going to dump them into Bitcoin. They just paid a bunch of money that they don't have anymore. They can't buy Bitcoin with it again, so it's not going back up after it.
Right, yeah, and I think there is also the question of, okay, that's fine if you think people are doing that with taxes, but that's only one country. And there's always the question of, okay, now that things are getting more and more globalized, is the United States really playing that much of a role still? Are we still kind of the behemoth, the elephant in the room?
I think we are.
Yeah, it's still definitely the biggest economy in the world. I mean, China's nipping at our heels, but
And
they
we're-
also have a
we're-
harder time buying Bitcoin than we do, so...
Yeah, when we're risk takers, and there's just a lot of things going on in the United States. A lot of people buying and selling. A lot of on ramps.
Yeah, I
A lot of
think
people
if you say
interested.
per capita, I think there's a lot of countries that are more into Bitcoin than the U.S. is.
What would you say? Which ones?
Like Korea and a lot of
Okay.
the Asian countries.
Yeah, yeah.
Japan strikes me as another one. I still don't think it's like a super high percentage of them either, but higher than the U.S.
Okay.
But even the small percent of the U.S., I think, is still the heaviest
So you
gorilla
think
in the ring.
the average? Well, let's just say there's more people percentage-wise that have touched crypto in these, like Japan and South Korea, than in
Yeah.
the United States. Okay.
Just a guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but
Yeah, because I keep on hearing about how, everyone's going nuts about cryptocurrency in Japan and Korea and stuff like that. It's like, well, then why does it seem like the U.S. first of all, it seems like all the projects are either Americans or they are based, maybe not based in the U.S., but they have ties to the United States. And granted, I have heard of some white papers being written in other languages, not that that per se is an indicator of where things are drifting, but it still does seem like things are very American-centric.
Oh, no. Well, we would put, like the tax day, we would put downward pressure on the price, but there are so many other things going on at the same time that it's not necessarily, it's always hard to draw a direct cause and effect relationship between things that happen and the price movements in crypto. So, and to speak on your first question, where is this recovery just starting or is it over? It looks like pretty steadily going down from December highs and consolidating around a certain consensus.
Right.
And the thing is, anything can spark a massive bull run because it doesn't take much money to move in.
Right.
But
or
it
a
could
massive panic sale.
Yeah, depending on the asset we're talking about. But Bitcoin seems to have a lot of hodlers of last resort, people that aren't, are really, they're not moving their coins. And I think we could still have a somewhat of a a bounce back, a steady bounce back over the next year easily. And we could also have a protracted bear market because we also see on-chain activity has also kind of died down a little bit. So, people start going through the data and valuing it. But everyone knows that there's a lot of institutional money on the sidelines. The timing on that, who knows? They could be waiting for a year or two, which in the long run isn't that big a deal. But for people looking for short-term games, it's going to be hard to time anything in this market, right? People have no idea what's really going on, and there's always events outside of the Bitcoin ecosystem that might be negative but can contribute to Bitcoin going through a massive bull run.
I like forced predictions and seeing how you did. You guys want to do that? 2 weeks
Maybe.
from now, we all make a prediction and see
2
who
weeks
did
from
well.
now. Yeah, I think
What, a
I'd
month?
be open to it. What are we predicting? We price of
How
Bitcoin
how
is probably
about
the easiest
for
one.
this audience?
What's the time frame?
Bitcoin price, Monero price, and overall crypto
Jeez.
market cap.
I feel like 2 weeks isn't that much. Bitcoin
month?
price. How about like June 1st? Well, that's a little over a month, right?
All right, June 1st.
Price of Bitcoin. I guess we got to look at where it's at. Where was that? It's like 8,000 last.
I think it's about 8,000.
Yeah, I'll go. This is kind of conservative. Well, is it conservative? Yeah, I would say. God, this is really difficult. If it's at 8,000 now, I guess maybe 10,000. I feel like that's a pretty conservative guess.
That was my guess. 10,001 for me. I'll go over. You go under.
All right. What about you, Brett?
Yeah, I see it going sideways for a while, but with an
Yeah.
upward tick. So I guess I'll have to go a little bit. I'll go a little bit I'll go a little more bullish. So I'll go to we're talking to June 1st.
Yeah.
God, what's happening? Let's go 11,000.
11,000.
I'm gonna be bullish.
Not
for
much
June
daylight.
1st.
I only have $1,000 banned to win. You guys have gotta.
It's like the price is right. You've been kind of squeezed out. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think here. I guess there's a question of like, okay, if things are consolidating, like, is it something like other markets where, during the summer things just start to like heat up just because people start doing more stuff? Or is this something where we've hit a wall because of on-chain scaling just not quite, or any sort of scaling not quite working at this point?
Well, if we look at the past, we see that there's huge price run-ups over maybe a couple of months, exponential price run-ups, and then almost like a year or 2 years of hodling, moving sideways. So there was one, at the very beginning, there was like an initial, when Bitcoin first came out, it like rose to $30 a coin, then it dropped to $2.
Right.
And there was a period where, there wasn't really going on, and then it jumped up to like 100. And then there's kind of a dead period, went up to 1,000, down to 200, and then it went up to 19,000. Now we might be in this a sideways kind of bear market hodling phase for the next year or two, but past isn't always predictive. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different conditions on the ground compared to the last couple of bear markets.
I do recommend, or I do see that we've had that trend where we shoot up and then go back down and go sideways for a little bit. That definitely happens in Bitcoin, but you never know when it's going to happen.
Yes.
But I want to say that, like, ever since we've moved to trying to develop the second layer, I think the game has really changed. So I wouldn't be all that surprised if we see something different in the future.
In what way?
Just that we moved from working on the base layer where everything has to be perfect, and it's so hard to move anything that everything moves super slowly. And now that people are working on a second layer where they don't have to have permission from everybody, they can just build it, see if it works, and then if it breaks, fix it. It doesn't matter. It's not going to break all of
The
Bitcoin.
underlying chain.
So I just think that we're going to see a different type of growth in Bitcoin for the next era forward. So, or at least I hope.
Yeah, so I feel like where I want things to go depends on whether I have money to invest right now. So I've spent a lot of money on a bunch of different things, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of done spending the money. And so now I'm kind of hoping that it stays down. But once you have enough skin in the game already, then it's like, okay, do I want it to go up or down? Because like if you can want it to stay down for a while, but eventually once you're invested enough, you're going to say, mute that. You're going to say that you want it to go up. So that's kind of the ship where I'm in now, where I still want to be able to put some more money in, but eventually things have to go upwards. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, this is the time to start saving.
Well, that's
sure.
no. The time to start saving was like a long time ago.
It's always
as
this time
as
to
early
start.
as okay.
This is like a civilizational project. Like this is when I think anything under, if you're under the age of 40 and anything under $100,000 for BTC, I think you should be holding it.
Got it. Yeah.
If you're truly in this for the long term, like
Should
that.
we move on to the next story?
Yeah, we can move on. Just so for those of you who are watching us live, we're on, I think, DLive, Facebook, YouTube, also Periscope / Twitter. So I see you guys in there. There we go. Yeah. Jeff Spirla, I see you as well. So if you're in any of the chat rooms, go ahead and ask us a question or throw some comments our way. Before we get started on some of the other, on some of the other stories, we've got Mark Mean on YouTube who says, is Nano the next Litecoin and is it undervalued? Market cap prediction, and by the way, Nano is formerly Ryblox, right?
Oh.
Ryblox. And Nano and end of the year price. They do want some predictions. Upcoming roadmap projects include point of sale and smart cards. Your thoughts? Great show. All right, Mark. Thank you for calling us a great show. That's quite a bit of flattery. So, have you guys done much research on it? You guys didn't watch my video, did you? I did an analysis of Ryblox / Nano.
I watched your video, and actually, I had a real world encounter with some then Ryblox people that were excited about it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So it's actually a really good friend of mine's boyfriend who is building like a payment platform with Nano.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. Like, you think you could
Just the
order
fact
a
that
pizza or something like that.
he seems excited about this, so I feel like it's going to be something that's going to be like.
I love when Jackson gets
he's going to degrade the Nano project. I can already feel it.
No, I don't have too much to say about it. It's
There's nothing stronger than hate, you know?
yeah. So I've heard it a lot. They have some mind share, so that's pretty cool. Because I don't usually look into any altcoins at all, but because my friend was interested in this one, I actually did do a dive into it, and then I did listen to your talk as well.
Right.
And it is proof of stake, and I just don't see how proof of stake is going to work.
Yeah.
Any part of a decentralized protocol that includes voting is just a non-starter to me. I just don't see how that is ever going to scale. And that kind of goes into EOS as well that we were planning on talking about a little bit later today. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on Nano or Ryblox.
And what do they mean by the next Litecoin?
So the thing with Nano is they're looking for fast payments, quick payments, and there's no mining process. All of the tokens that are going to be in existence are already in existence. There's no monetary fee. So if you send Ryblox or Nano to someone else, the main quote unquote cost you have is that your computer, whatever's generating the transaction, has to do a small proof of work thing. So it'll most likely delay the amount of transactions you can do per second for you yourself. But it'll hypothetically be at something that's reasonable, something like, let's say, 1 per 30 seconds or something like that, right?
Yeah, I will say that there tends to be a bias towards just fast in general.
Right.
Just that's not just in crypto, just everything. And it's not so clear to me why faster is necessarily better, because as far as I know, payments are pretty fast for me when I go to check out of things, right? I don't...
Meaning like Bitcoin payments or Visa payments?
Bitcoin, Visa, and there's actually an advantage to Bitcoin's slowness, and that's more of a technical topic. But
Yeah,
I would say to users,
around that, though.
users because users looking at projects and they talk about how fast they are, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just that I see this a lot in a lot of projects where it's just like we're fast. Well, I don't know if that's. Let's just say that it's a bias that you should watch out for, because a lot of projects are like, oh, we're faster. Well, I don't know necessarily if that's necessarily an advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you say faster, I think usually people are saying
More transaction
like,
throughput.
Well,
and
faster to get quote unquote
blocks,
confirmations or something like that.
Okay, so
this is a big issue, right? And for me, I've finally come to the point where I started seeing a little bit more of how, let's say, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin are different. Is in 2017, fall 2017, the regular Bitcoin Core, they allowed something called replace by fee, where you can, if things get clogged, you can essentially set a new transaction with a higher mining fee in hopes that it will get mined before your older transaction, which is stuck.
whoa.
Is it bad that I still freak out when I hear sirens? I swear I'm not doing anything bad. But essentially, so they implemented replace by fee, and on something like Bitcoin Cash, you don't have that. So that means that hypothetically, something with Bitcoin Cash, if you're trying to do a point of sale system, yeah, you can wait for confirmation if you want. But the truth is, you really don't. Like, for the most part, you don't need a confirmation. Once it's pending, you're pretty much good to go. And to a certain extent, like even with Bitcoin, you can still kind of do that. Most people, their purchases are going to be small. They're going to be something $60 or less. So, I mean, you have to start asking yourself, how much would it cost for someone to attack the system by doing a double spend, and how easy or hard is it? From what I can tell, it sounds like Bitcoin Cash, they're trying to work hard to make it so that it's very difficult to do a double spend. That way they can start moving forward with a point of sale system on zero confirmations, just on once your node receives that transaction.
So I have to try to disagree with you for a little bit there. So we're talking about doing a double spend without a confirmation, right?
Right.
So you were saying that how much money does it cost to defeat that?
Right.
And you're maybe thinking it has to be like one block that you have to like undo. Is that what you're saying?
One block that you have to undo? Say again?
So to do a double spend without a confirmation, the only thing you have to do is have a miner that mines a block participate with you. All they have to do is include your transaction instead of the one that the merchant thinks is going to get
Well, but then
included.
you would have to hope that your miner is specifically the one that solves the nonce, which would be incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how decentralized mining is.
Right.
But the thing is, there's like rules that they want to do. It's like first seen, first safe.
Right.
Which is impossible to guarantee. Like a miner
Right.
can just say, "Oh, I never saw that transaction." Like there's no way to prove that they did.
Right.
So even if like your network goes out and sorry, we said not to go too technical on this show, but
Well, we're already past the point.
yeah,
of no
sorry.
return.
That's
so
all right.
Just
It's
to
a
wrap
good-
this up,
it's a
so
good
say
topic.
that your transaction goes out and you see it's propagated to everybody, but they have a deal with a couple of miners, maybe even like 60% of miners,
Right.
that will say, I will include your transaction first and pretend I didn't see that transaction. Then they can double spend that transaction. So it's not safe until it's actually there. So
Right, but safe is kind of like this. You can call it like it's some sort of binary thing, but it's really like shades of how safe, I think, is what I'm starting to realize. And if you can if you can implement some sort of things so that when a transaction propagates throughout the network, whether it's to nodes or miners, if you can find a way to make it so that the earlier one in general will tend to win out, then you can reduce the chances of a double spend. You're right, but this is the question becomes. That's why I was saying earlier. It depends how much would it cost them to do the attack. That's the ultimate kind of question. It seems like.
And the question is, how much are you willing to trust them? That
Yeah,
they don't
that's true.
wanna
And then
go
you're
the
talking
way?
about trust versus trustlessness, right? So I guess there are different variations.
Well, just like you said, there's there's shades of gray, so it isn't even trust versus trustlessness, right? It's like minimizing trust
Right.
as much as possible. You know?
Right.
And Bitcoin itself is a probabilistic system, right? Like it exists, and there's no necessarily a final state. It never finalizes. It always stays alive, and it's always trying to figure out what the consensus is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's people working on all sorts of projects when it comes to scaling and trying to get things as fast as possible.
It's going to be very hard to
and
double
that is
spend.
kind of the trade-off, right? How quickly can you get the transaction versus how likely is it that it can be reversed? It seems like those two forces are in opposition, if that makes sense.
Anyway, so
Yeah, and it's not like a typical. Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay. Just to go back to Nano. Yeah, so Nano is a cryptocurrency that essentially they are stripping it down. So there is no smart contracts, nothing like that. There's no mining. They're really going down to the basics, just trying to make it so that they can do it for kind of like cash payments, quick, get it over with, right? And that's kind of what they'll be good for. So the question, of course, is like, okay, if it goes quick, how quick compared to something? And then, of course, you have the question of, okay, how good are their confirmations versus the confirmations of a different project? So I think there are some questions there. And essentially, Nano, if they're able to pull it off, cool. They could be one of the top cryptocurrencies. But if they can't pull it off, then they'll be nowhere even close, and it'll get abandoned. I did buy a little bit of Ryblock/Nano, just kind of out of fun, just because I think I have a little bit of confidence in the project. But definitely not enough to bet the house. Don't get me wrong, they have some pretty cool stuff that they're doing, but a lot of it's going to depend on a lot of details, and we don't know. Things are so small right now. People are talking about how I don't have any fees for this transaction. Technically, the time, it has value. So like if you're doing some proof of work transactions where it takes 30 seconds to create a transaction, that is a price. It just might not be easy to convert it into dollars. So I think we'll find out once there's actual, once there is actual, when there's more people, when there's more traffic on the network. Until then, it's kind of pie in the sky. Okay, so enough about Nano and Ryblocks. I did an analytical episode of their white paper. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. So I was gonna go. we got sidetracked, but let's go back to what is this website called? It looks like PornHub.
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 Yeah, you've never heard of that
Something
one, huh?
about PornHub and Verge.
Yeah, it was interesting. They had a lot of videos on there.
Yeah.
I've never.
Very.
Yeah.
See the guns?
It was-
The gun
Anyhow.
videos.
All right. This is a cryptocurrency podcast. Okay, so as a lot of people probably have heard by now, the cryptocurrency Verge has made a splash today.
Great headlines. Great headlines.
Right,
Very
yeah. It is
clickbaity.
allowing everyone and their mother to create the easiest, clickbaitiest titles and headlines ever. So it's great for all the crypto news.
Right.
Kylan's going to spin his web with that one. But they came out and said that they had started a partnership with the parent company of PornHub. And now PornHub has done some like actual real advertising saying that they have now the ability to pay with Verge on their website. What do you guys think about that? And basically, do you think that it's worth all the hype that they put behind it? I don't know if we talked
Definitely
about
not.
I think of all the cryptocurrencies you could use Verge. I mean, they must have started integrating it back when Verge was like getting all hyped up, because all I see about Verge now is just all sorts of terrible stuff. Although for me, I always saw terrible stuff. It's just other people at the time thought it was great. 5 months ago when everything was going up, people were talking about, this Wraith protocol, man. Wraith protocol. It turns out it's just like what stealth addresses. It's just like a fancy name for it.
I think the headline just shows the absurdity of our world right now.
Right.
It's like 2018. There's just it's not even Bitcoin. It's Verge. Only people in cryptocurrency would even know what Verge is. And now they're on a pornographic site that I haven't heard of until today. And I'm going to do some more crypto research on it later tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really absurd. You have things like the Kodak trying to come out with an ICO, Telegram ICOing, Samsung's getting into mining, Verge is on PornHub. It's all very, very. Venezuela's launching a crypto on
Right.
NEM, right? So
Right.
it's just a sign of the times that anything is possible.
Yeah.
So what if they were using a more mainstream cryptocurrency, like Litecoin or Bitcoin or whatever?
Would it be more substantial?
Yeah. Would you say, hey, this is a great idea? Because you sound very down on the idea, and I'm wondering if that's just because they're using Verge.
Well, partly, yeah, because almost all, and I don't know specifically how Verge has been set up, but I would say almost all the cryptocurrencies have a less pure starting point than Bitcoin, right? They verge on the side of
They verge.
securities, right? A lot of them are highly centralized. Right? We can talk about the centralization within Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining, but so a lot of these other projects are highly centralized.
But as it relates to porn,
what do you mean as it relates?
well, I mean, is it a good? This should be a good thing to a certain extent, right? We have
Yeah,
websites that
it's a
are
great
starting
thing.
to integrate. I mean, porn is one of the more obvious applications of cryptocurrency, right?
For sure.
People want to be a little anonymous. They pay for their depravity, with whatever cryptocurrency they want.
Yeah.
And then that's that.
It just shows that crypto's useful.
And they talk
and
about
people are interested in it.
people always talk about how big porn is. So why wouldn't we want to get in there, start grabbing our
I think
fair share of that money?
Yeah, it's another example. If you see the porn industry or criminals use something, it's probably useful because they don't have, they really have nothing to lose, and a lot of other traditional things are kind of out of their grasp. But
I think I want to see this a little bit differently. Like everybody's like thinking about this of like, is this good for Verge? Should Verge associate themselves with PornHub? I think it's completely the opposite direction.
Bad for Pornhub.
It's like, yeah, PornHub
has
is
more
the
risk.
biggest brand in their industry for sure.
And they're associated
And
with
they
a
do
shitcoin
advertising,
now.
yeah. And I am extremely surprised that they would risk their brand on this.
Yeah.
I didn't set this up very well in the beginning, but Verge has been trying to pump their price with this announcement. They were like teasing this announcement for like 3 months. It seemed like that we have this huge announcement, and our price is going to just go skyrocketing as soon as we announce this. It's going to be huge, and then they finally announced, and it's PornHub, and that's good. But that's just one of the checkered past of this cryptocurrency. Like many of the people that are like involved with the genesis of this cryptocurrency have checkered past with all sorts of criminal behavior, and really that shouldn't matter, but it's also just pump and dump after pump and dump and lying about features.
that's where I'm getting tired of like these partnerships and these pumps and stuff.
I
like
think
that.
partnerships are just they're worthless, is what they are, because you can never tell the actual nature of the partnership. It could be something big, it could be something small, but if it's something small, tons of people like to hype things up, make them sound a lot bigger than they are. I mean, like you were saying with the checkered past, there was some sort of little hubbub. I never got to the bottom of it, but within the last week, it was something where the Verge, who was it? It was one of the leaders of Verge was talking about how they were taking some like public funds, or they're supposed to be used for development or whatever, and they were giving them to Ledger so that they could integrate it into the Nano, which is a hardware wallet for those of you at home. We're getting a little technical there. And then the CEO of Ledger was like, what are you talking about? We don't charge for that anymore. So essentially it sounds like this money went somewhere, but not to Ledger. And one of the leaders of Verge says the money was spent on something, so it's gone. So it sounds like embezzlement.
Yeah, a lot of shady.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Do you know,
And then-
Jackson? Do you know why they didn't choose or use any other cryptocurrencies? Or
I don't on that. I haven't heard much on that, but let me respond to something Kylan said. Like, just to add on to what Kylan was saying, I forgot about this announcement that they needed. They also raised a whole bunch of money. So it seems like they kind of bribed PornHub to allow them to be like the exclusive cryptocurrency payment provider.
Wait, who raised money?
The Verge team,
Okay.
the Verge development team. I don't even know. That's the thing. Like, why is there a entity called Verge that can speak on
Exactly.
behalf
It's
of
like an
Verge?
actual company.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're supposed to be privacy oriented.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where I was talking about all these things. It's like it's kind of good, but it's like
Like-
a lot of these coins, the way the way they started, either with like a pre-mine or there's a lot of conflicts of interest. They have companies that can be sued, right?
Yeah.
Just the whole thing is kind of weird, but it's a good headline and gets cryptocurrency back in the news, which I'm always
Yeah.
okay with.
Going back to what Kylan said, I didn't get to respond to it. Would it be different if this was like Bitcoin or Monero or Litecoin? I think it would be different. And even if we had a similar situation where somebody was raising funds and like went to PornHub and tried to like make a deal with them, that's fine. They just can't do it in the name of the currency, in
and
the
there
name
is-
of a decentralized
Oh,
network.
Yeah.
In the case of the three that you mentioned, it wouldn't be possible.
Exactly.
There's
Literally would
no,
not be able to.
there's no central entity.
Yeah.
You know, anyone can speak on behalf of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin doesn't really care or have a marketing budget.
Yeah.
So I agree with Jackson on that.
Yeah, you're just a person.
That's why I'm
spending
just
money
kind of
on-
like, when I heard the headline. You know,
Yeah.
Usually I'd be more excited. It was like, not really a coin that's being used. There's not a lot of on-chain activity. A lot of pumpiness going on. A lot of dumpiness going on. But hey,
Yeah.
go PornHub,
And I don't know
go
how many
Verge.
Verge users there really are, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I just want to close it out with the main takeaway is, what is Pornhub thinking? Like, why would they want to associate their brand with this? Their brand is so
Yeah.
valuable.
You almost wonder if they own Verge there and they wanted to pump and dump
Yeah.
themselves.
Maybe,
They
yeah,
would
right.
maybe risk a little bit of the value of their Pornhub brand in order for a quick buck.
Well, it would be a lot of the.
Do you think porn
the
guys would do that?
value
Dude?
of, like, seems like the SEC
They
would
seem
come
like
down
stand-up
on them for that.
guys.
Yeah, if they know. I feel like people in the porn industry probably kind of operate a little bit in the shadows anyway, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would imagine.
somewhat.
Somewhat.
So I am actually kind of curious, since we're on this topic. When I look at something like Steam or like EOS, and we do a lot of content publishing, obviously, for this podcast, but there is a part of me that wonders if there is the ability for a cryptocurrency or blockchain or decentralized app to disrupt the porn industry, specifically something like PornHub when it comes to adult video content. Because right now they have a lot of issues with copyright. That's a big issue that they deal with. You can't just start your own porn site and start just uploading videos because someone owns the rights to those videos. But a lot of the blockchains that I'm seeing, especially something like Steam, and just the nature of, you guys know the Interplanetary File System, the IPFS. So for those of you at home who don't know what it is, it's kind of like Tor, or BitTorrent, excuse me, where you can kind of upload files into a decentralized network. But essentially, with something like that, it would be a lot more difficult to censor someone, even if it were copyrighted material. And I'm wondering if somebody has the opportunity to disrupt in that manner. Let's say specifically the adult content industry. Would you guys like to see that, or was it something where the people who are creating the videos should get more credit for the videos that they are creating? Like, would it be okay if someone created a porn site where anyone could upload someone else's videos, and maybe they make the money because it's on their account, whereas their performers aren't making the money?
I think that's where the tide's going.
Right.
All these, there's just a general distaste for a lot of the Silicon Valley platforms, and they've gotten so big that they're basically part of the surveillance state, and I think that's pretty well documented at this point.
Talking about porn?
No. I'm just talking about platform monopolies in general.
Okay.
Right. We're talking about content and
yeah,
stuff like that, because this is all related to content and the internet and freedom of expression.
Right.
So, and I think these forces that want to, I guess, tamp down freedom of expression or want to treat Facebook as a utility will squeeze a lot of the interesting people out for looking for other solutions. People are going to be more conscious of their data, and I think I'm not sure how much value added a decentralized porn application would be, but it would show what can be that example could be abstracted to other things. And I think people are going to put a lot of these tools together in really creative ways, in which you'll be private. You'll be able to access these platforms privately. You'll be able to own your data, maybe be able to sell it. You'll be able to create content, get paid for it, pay people for their content, all kind of locally on the internet.
Yeah.
So I think it's moving in that direction. I would short people's expectations on how quickly that'll come. I think,
Right.
I think we were talking before, maybe, I'm definitely more pessimistic on the time frame. I think it'll take some time. But like once it hits like an inflection point, it'll, the whole web will be remade. and a lot of these platforms that don't create content, they just kind of facilitate
Middleman.
it. Yeah, will I think their position in the market will erode, but for the time being, they'll be they'll be around. But I'm looking forward to seeing these decentralized applications come out. Not a lot have come out yet, but it's the early days.
And the ones that are out are not super usable just yet. What do you think, Jackson?
I think that we actually kind of already have the technologies that will work towards that, and those would be Lightning and BitTorrent. Like combining those two, you could incentivize people to seed the content that like they enjoy. They can get paid a little bit for it, or they can do it for free just to support the creators that they like.
Right.
Then the only thing missing is content discovery. And finding a way to do that doesn't get censored somehow is a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
I don't think that any sort of blockchain project is going to solve that, but I would love to see it. And then the reason I don't think that we will see that, because that's technically possible today. Like if we wanted to, we could host this show on BitTorrent and just direct people to it. We don't have to worry about YouTube, anything like that. They can donate to us. But the reason that we don't is because it's clunky. It's hard to do. It's hard to make a decentralized system. And I think that it's going to be a while before we can either get the user ease down to a point where people want to use it, or if people get technically sound enough to do it.
There was a long way between. There was a long time between online video and YouTube, right? Yeah. So just we're getting to the point where we can have online video, right? Or in that we haven't even got to the YouTube phase yet. So I think putting all these tools together, they're all being made, but like Lightning is still in mainnet now, right? Out of testnet. So it's not even, it's still beta, very, right? It'll take some time for these things to really start to bleed in and for entrepreneurs to put them together in novel ways that we can't even think of. That's where I'm bullish, like long-term as direction, bearish on a lot of people in the blockchain space expectation on when these dApps come out. There's been a lot of promises over the last couple of years and not a lot has materialized.
Yeah, things have gone slower.
Besides the digital assets themselves, the things that are like money.
Right. Yeah, it seems like progress can be slow. I think people forget how long it takes to create an app, especially something as on par with like YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, stuff like that. And as Jackson mentioned, a lot of the stuff that we do on those platforms uses algorithms that are kind of like central. There's some centralization there. There is someone who is creating an algorithm and mining all sorts of data. So that's one thing I noticed with Steam when I first started out, like on Steemit. There wasn't much of a filter in the beginning. If you have like a feed, it's either just your friends or just whoever's posting whatever, which is not the best first experience if you're just joining a platform. I think that's another area where it's kind of going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, that's where like Steam is like all in one, right? It's like a blockchain. Everything is put together there, and everything's done with on the blockchain. Where I think the really cool apps will be putting together specialized pieces and tools in a novel way. So not necessarily like maybe using the Bitcoin blockchain or Lightning and the interplanetary file system, right? Or some type of storage mechanism, right? And you have all these decentralized apps put together in such a way to build a decentralized app.
I think one thing that's kind of a little bit not a big enough piece of the discussion is that decentralized content providers are also a marketplace for advertisers. So they have everybody in one place, and they can like, guarantee a certain level of content to advertise on. If we strike out of our own on these own decentralized projects, we're not going to have that. The marketers are going to have to go like more one-to-one.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a lot less efficient of a market.
Yeah, I think, are you talking about marketing with regards to like how they're going to monetize things or?
Yeah, getting an advertising partnership. It's one thing to slap it up on YouTube and have a
So that's the thing though, is for some of them, like with Steam, a lot of it's kind of like integrated into the blockchain where you, instead of making money off advertisements, which you still could do, but instead of doing that, the blockchain churns out however many new units that have a certain value, and they get allocated to people depending on like how many upvotes and stuff like that,
Right.
which I
So-
think is kind of a cool
But
idea.
with that, you're paying content creators with the inflation of Steam. Like, what kind of monetary cost
No, that's true.
system is that?
There's some truth to that. That's
And,
what
like,
I was
who
thinking
wants
too.
to hold a token that is incentivizing
Yeah. Well,
all
it-
content creators when they could just donate to one content creator they want?
Yeah, I think it depends on the inflation rate, obviously, because even Bitcoin is inflationary for what 120 years or something like that, approximately, something like that. Yeah, so sometimes even those small parameters, even if they're slightly tweaked off, it's enough to cause a failure of the blockchain or the decentralized app. So we actually have a question here from Aaron Shanahan on Facebook. What's up, Aaron? He says, what's the argument against decentralized platforms and the argument for centralized platforms? Against decentralized platform, technologically, it's very difficult. You have a lot of pieces all over the place. You have to try to get them to talk to each other in a fashion that's fast enough that it gives the user a good experience. If you're submitting something or you're writing a comment, you don't want it to take half a minute to go through. You want it to go right through. So that's kind of one example. Trying to think here. Also, if it's decentralized, then the question is, how do you decide what sort of stuff should be removed from the network? So if you have something like, let's say it's video content and someone puts up a video of child porn, how do you get rid of that? Because with blockchain technology, or at least with cryptocurrency, we tend to use governance systems like proof of work, proof of stake. So you would have to hope that either the miners or whoever has stake in the system would want to remove that sort of content. So that's another challenge. Whereas, currently, if you have someone that has some bad material up, all you have to do is report it. There's someone in an office that just kind of clicks delete and maybe reports the person or deletes their account, something along those lines.
I think some good heuristics to compare decentralized to centralized is the one hand for the bad for decentralized would be, I would say it's inefficient,
Right.
on purpose. So harder to use, which requires
big one.
the
Yeah.
user to take more responsibility. But that's all, those things together make it more freedom enhancing. So that's, you have more autonomy, more control, but you also have more responsibility. So then a centralized platform will be something that, they're providing a service to you, so they're going to try to do the best job they can. Things are going to be fast, efficient, and let's see. Yeah, I guess it would be, it's easier to use, right? There are more fail-safes for the user.
There's more developers, there's more resources in general, I would say, as well.
Yeah, and a lot of these things are about aligning incentives. So in a centralized organization, things are aligned how they are. Decentralized organizations are very hard to get the incentives right. Bitcoin has. It's not necessarily clear how, a media platform could do the same thing. I think they could, but only time will tell. So on the one hand, you have centralized, which is more efficient, faster, easier user experience, but less control. And then decentralized would be inefficient, more autonomy, more freedom, but harder to use.
Right. What do you think, Jackson?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you guys are saying. So I would just move on to say that even if you were to one day develop a system that was less efficient than a centralized system, but was efficient enough that you didn't really notice, you could be instant with a centralized system, but this is a half of a nanosecond and it's that fast. That doesn't really matter. But even in that system, how do you change it? If you want to change this system and improve it some way, or if you think that this is so abhorrent that we need to change the system so it's not allowed anymore, those people that disagree, there's no way to actually fix that disagreement in the system. It would just fork off every single time there's a disagreement. So it's just really hard to get people to agree on things together. That is one of the magical things about Bitcoin, is that it forces everybody to converge on one truth.
Right.
Nice way to put it.
Yeah, and I think as time goes on, we're actually finally starting to see more decentralized applications, but it's still really early on. So whereas
we'll see the limits of decentralization. So one of the biases that we all have at the table and everyone in the thing is decentralization. And just like I was talking before, fast is kind of a bias that we have. So we have a bias for decentralization. Well, there's a reason why we centralize some things. because it's useful and it's actually better than decentralization in certain cases.
Right.
So there's a lot of things out there that, maybe an ICO and they say they're decentralized and well, that's not necessarily a good thing. Just because something's faster doesn't mean it's better. Just because it's more decentralized doesn't mean it's better.
Yeah.
So that's I tend to agree with decentralization in general, but some things don't need to be decentralized.
I have a bias for decentralization in governments and money, but
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else, centralize
yeah.
it as much as you can.
Centralize and give me all the power. I think that's how most people feel. Okay, so we got to some questions there. Again, like I said, if you're watching the live feed, feel free to throw some questions or comments. So while we're kind of on the topic of decentralization and decentralized apps, I don't know how familiar you guys are with EOS, but there's been quite a bit of news recently because they're about to launch on June 1st. So right now you can get an ERC20 token, an Ethereum token that will be represented by tokens on the actual EOS blockchain once they launch on June 1st. There's a lot of anticipation, I think, for this launch. It's already on, what is it? It's ranked number 5, I think. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm bullish about the project, but when I look at it already being at number 5 and not yet launched, it makes me, at least from a investment standpoint, less bullish.
Yeah, there's a difference between can something work and then pricing.
Right.
Right. So EOS might work, but you might be underwater for a long time because you're making certain bets
Right.
at certain times. So watch out for that.
Right. So a big part of what they're trying to do with EOS obviously comes from Dan Larimer. He's kind of the founder, and he did Steam. He did that whole blockchain beforehand before leaving to start on EOS. But they have how would I say it, kind of a role that certain computers play. There will be 21 of them at any given moment, and they get voted on to do the job of producing blocks. And I think that kind of means validating transactions, all that sort of good stuff.
Securing the chain.
Right, and hypothetically, the people who have the computers that will do this, it looks like if this blockchain gets big, they'll be able to make quite a bit of money, the same way that some of the big mining pools are making a lot of money off of cryptocurrency mining right now. So it looks like the question is, who steps up to fill these roles of, they call it block producer. So there have been 2 developments within the last week. First one is that Antpool, which as I understand it is a Bitcoin mining, what's the term I'm looking for, pool, right? They are asserting themselves as a candidate, as a block producer. So you will be able to vote on them if you think they will do a good job of producing blocks. So I guess we'll start off with that part first. If you're doing cryptocurrency mining and some things are moving kind of away from proof of work, do you think it makes sense for them to diversify a little bit, maybe start going into some of this block production stuff, maybe even putting some of their resources into proof of stake as well?
Well, yeah, I think if you're trying to innovate and you have another proof of work coin competing with Bitcoin, I don't think you have much of a chance.
Right.
And you might as well experiment with different consensus models.
Right.
And it's not necessarily clear that a platform with decentralized applications need the amount of hashing power that Bitcoin has with
Right.
proof of work, and they're going for a different use case. So I'm skeptical, right? I've never bought any EOS and I don't like in general that it's in a token and now it's going to be moved
Yeah,
onto its own.
that's
It hasn't
gonna be-
even been a blockchain yet. And
There
they
might
have
be
all this
some
hype.
hiccups during that transition,
that's
let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And you have all these onlookers and people that are interested in, just getting. It's a get rich quick, magnet, right? Trying to arbitrage this in some way, or make some money for doing nothing. But and it seems like EOS is really stretching the. They really want to be able to be the most scalable blockchain.
Right.
From what is that correct?
That
From-
sounds like they're trying to do something like that. Yes.
And they have a sort of I don't know what would be called a federation of block producers.
That's
That
what I
you
would
can choose
describe
from.
it.
Is that what you're talking about?
Can you choose from them?
Yeah, there's anyone can put themselves together to forward as a block producer, and at the end of the day, there will only be 21 at a time. So there's already like 90 something candidates.
That's right. I think these things are fascinating.
Yeah.
These are like global video games that have real money on the line, and the complexities are endless. And I'm not in the position to be like, oh, this is am I gonna buy it? No. But is it going to fail? I have no idea, right? And I think it's really cool that they're experimenting with different games, different setups to come to consensus over a one truth.
Well, Jackson, I know you're probably not as optimistic. You said when there's voting involved, then you tend to, it's something that doesn't really appeal to you. I guess one of the good things is if there is some sort of calamity that's going to happen, it's probably going to happen pretty soon. Pretty quickly upon launch, there might be some hiccups that will occur. Do you think it makes sense for people to be voting at all for a Bitcoin mining pool? Do you think they have the expertise to be a good block producer? Or is this something where there's too much centralization, one organization might be having too much control?
Yeah, I think that, or my standard disclosure is, yes, I think this is a garbage idea, but I think that if you do want to try to vote for the best person in your system, I don't think it's Bitmain. Like, Bitmain hasn't had the best track record of trying to like keep a system decentralized. They seem to be trying to control things in Bitcoin. I don't think they've been effective, but I don't think that they've been the best actor in the system either. So if you want somebody who is supposed to be like the paragon of decentralization, like these are the people that we hold above all others, they're going to be honest, and that's basically what EOS is saying they're going to do. I don't think you want Bitmain.
I definitely have a bias for using the word bias again, but the feature in Bitcoin or these other cryptocurrencies that allow anyone to come on and be a block producer, you know, hypothetically, and projects that don't do that, I don't necessarily like that. You know, it seems to, I don't know, it doesn't allow for randomness to come in. You know, right? A new player, new blood.
So you're saying that EOS does do this or doesn't do this?
Well, no,
it
sounded like the way you're describing it, where they have 21 different block producers, right? Predefined.
Oh, no. So it's not predefined. Anyone can be a block producer, but at any given moment, they want there to be kind of a pool of 21 that have been voted into those blocks. So the top 21 get to help produce, because they don't want only one person being the block producer, right? Yeah, so in their minds, it sounds like they're okay with the idea of 21 being decentralized enough.
Yeah. It's an interesting experiment. We'll see what happens, but it's just something that gives me a little... It makes me...
A little pause?
Yeah, a little pause, not as interested in the project when it's kind of a predefined set of you know, acceptable block producers. I'm definitely on the side of more openness at the expense of scale. Right. Where if you close it off, I think you can scale much easier, which is what EOS
I think that's what they're trying to do, because they need decentralized applications.
As long as they're honest about the trade-offs they're making, then I'm fine with it. I'll let other investors take the risk of what's going on, and they'll be rewarded for it if they're right. But I'm definitely not putting my money in EOS.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting to think of these sorts of roles, because think about mining, like the first miners or people writing the software for mining pools, for example, because you're going to see, if EOS does get popular, then you'll see something similar where a whole ecosystem starts to become created around this role of block production, which is significantly different from Bitcoin mining. So it's different enough that all of a sudden you're going to have these professionals who are trying to write the best code, the best algorithms, kind of like you would now for like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency mining, right? Yeah. Okay, they're doing all the math. What's the fastest way to mine this algorithm, stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see whether EOS is successful enough for us to really see something like that occur and to see some real competition. But it definitely, like I said, I'm feeling bullish about the project, but at this point, I've talked about the decentralized apps enough where that's, yes, I want the price to go up, but I would like to see some serious disruption when it comes to mainstream applications in general. But yeah, we'll see. EOS, they're putting themselves forward, seeing what they can do, and I think we'll get a good answer to that probably within a year or so. So another story that's kind of related. I don't want to harp on this too much, but they also did, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this, for one of those content or those block producer positions, they're letting people who already own EOS tokens have a share or a stake in one of the actual block producers or at least one of the candidates. So essentially, if this candidate wins, then it sounds like if it starts making money, people who own tokens will get to make some money. So they are trying to like decentralize things. With EOS, you're seeing a lot of airdrops because there are a lot of people who are building apps on it, and they do want things decentralized from the beginning. So they're thinking, okay, well, how are we going to distribute these tokens? And the most obvious thing is, okay, well, let's give them to the users, give them to the people who already showed interest in this sort of decentralized blockchain.
So it's an equity stake in these pools, or what exactly is it?
For this specific airdrop, it sounds like it's essentially, yes, kind of like an equity stake in. It's not a pool; it's a block producer. But yeah, it's similar to the role of like a Bitcoin miner.
Okay.
So they're already messing with the incentives of the system because now they all have to vote in one of these people to be the federated miners.
I
So
didn't
now
even think
they're
about that.
incentivized to vote for
So
themselves.
it's like a little like
so
a
they get
bribery
there.
almost.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I like that. That's a fresh perspective there. Yeah, I guess you're more likely to get voted in if people have stake in your block production software or whatever, however you want to term it.
I think that's where a lot of these things, they get fuzzy when you move out of proof of work.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Incentives are hard.
It's
Incentives
hard
are
for me
very
to think
hard.
through all the game theory on the proof of stake stuff. It's very hard.
That's why I think it's fun that it's going to launch soon. So I don't know how many decentralized applications are going to be there on day one, but I think by the end of the year you should see at least a significant amount of them, which I'm very much looking forward to. Okay, so that's enough about EOS. This is sound like the EOS podcast today. That's pretty much my fault. So I am excited about things, but there's plenty of other stuff going on. So seems like every week we have to talk about something related to Coinbase. I guess they have
They're doing big
acquired
things.
they have acquired earn.com, which I know nothing about. I have earned nothing on earn.com, so I don't think it's doing a very
Jackson,
good job.
I can
are
do
you
the
on-
history.
Are you on Earn?
I am on
Oh, okay.
Earn. I think I've earned $1. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Earn.com started out as 21.co.
Right.
And they raised a whole bunch of money with Balaji
Well,
S
from
something.
Balaji was a board member.
This is a
They
person.
Andreessen Horowitz made a initial investment in them, and they were a mining company, like you said.
Okay, yeah. So Balaji's kind of the face. I don't know exactly what position he has, but he's the face
Pronounce
of
his
the
last
company.
name.
I don't know. It
Right?
starts with an S. I don't
even-
know.
It's Balaji, though. That's his-
Balaji, yeah. And they have a ton of money, and the first project they tried to do was make the Bitcoin computer. What did they call it? Do you remember?
Well, their big moonshot idea was harvesting all the power from your phone,
Right.
harvesting all those from different devices all over the world, using that for
Yeah,
Bitcoin
they wanted to
mining.
put a miner in every electronic device.
And then dole those out with micropayments.
Yeah, which honestly sounds like an awesome freaking idea.
Well,
but
yeah,
it just didn't seem to work
impractical.
out for them. Yeah.
Yeah, Balaji's like a engineering superstar. He has multiple degrees. Oh, my bad. Multiple degrees from Stanford, electrical engineering, bachelor's, master's, PhD, is a chemical engineering background.
Right.
And what was it called? He was chairman of 21.co, which is trying to do this pie in the sky Bitcoin mining stuff.
Right.
And they had been doing Bitcoin mining and made a lot of money off of it. But they were basically at the end of by the time in 2015, the hash rate had jumped up so significantly, it really affected their bottom line in a significant way. Balaji was he was a board member. He was brought in as CEO to clean it up. He's given credit for cleaning it up, and they basically scrapped the whole mining idea and moved on to micropayments because they built out some software for micropayments, and they basically pivoted.
Crypto micropayments?
Yes,
Oh.
they pivoted from
That's
doing
bad timing.
crypto mining all the way to a paid email service. So now they were known as 21.co, and now they're known as earn.com. And both I and Jackson have a profile on there. Are you on there as well?
Yep.
I've actually made $150 from answering questions on there. Most of them are ICO bullshit. They would be called spam and anything else, but this time you get paid for opening up spam and answering questions.
Are they addressing you as a member of Airbits or Edge or yourself?
No, just like a dude on there. They want they want to airdrop tokens, or they want to want to know something, or they want you to sign up for their Telegram group.
Man, how did you get
And
your
I
email
just-
on that list? Nobody emails me anything on earn.com.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I've got a lot.
I think it's because you're on the Edge website.
Maybe,
I honestly think it
maybe.
is.
Yeah, and I've actually made some money, and it's a pretty powerful tool where you actually get paid for your time. So people can send you requests or spam emails basically, and you get paid for answering those. And I've made $150. So to bring it all full circle, Coinbase just bought Earn.com and made Balaji, who was the board member and then became the CEO savior, and that's how a lot of people are spinning it.
Okay.
They made Balaji CTO of Coinbase, which is a big move just in terms of like optics and brain power. He's very respected, just for his insights on a lot of different things, not just Bitcoin. And it seems like Coinbase is going to integrate them, and we're going to see, they have I know Earn has a huge user base, and so does Coinbase. They're pretty much going to, merge those things. They have a lot of emails and profiles and stuff like that. And it's actually one of the first use cases of micropayments and Bitcoin.
So what are they sending? Is it off-chain
I'm not
payments?
sure.
And then when you
Do you
want
know
to cash
exactly how
out,
they
you
do it?
cash out or something?
Yeah, it's off-chain payments and then a centralized
Yeah.
database of payments on Earn's side.
And then when you want to they just send it out from their database. But I
Got it.
don't own the private keys that are sitting on there. That's kind of just a balance that it shows.
So what exactly do you think they're trying to accomplish here by buying Earn.com? Do they want to get involved in micropayments, or is this something where they're trying to get their developers? Or
Well, first I think so.
I don't know anything about 21.
Yeah, I guess the dark side of this, you could look at it, is there's definitely is a connection between Andreessen, Balaji, and Coinbase, and 21 was kind of like a failed company, and they were able to turn around and spin it, and then get paid for it. And I think they basically broke even, but 21 is now I don't know if it's a profitable organization. It's at least revenue generating, and I think Coinbase sees a lot of promise in not only Balaji and having that having him on there, but just it's the first applications where you can send little bits of Bitcoin for tasks that are done. So it's kind of like a mechanical Turk, and they see people being able to just with an email complete tasks all over the world and get paid in cryptocurrency for it.
Right.
So it could go right now. It's basically just used for like ICO stuff, but you could see it, potentially being used for other things and other tasks. Filling out surveys or whatever.
I think it's threefold. I'd say their first priority was getting Balaji. I think he's a huge name in the space, and probably I've heard him speak. He does seem like a really intelligent person that you'd want on your team. Number two is Coinbase probably has a bunch of money and not enough places to utilize it and try to grow businesses.
Right.
So reaching out, trying to find something like that. And then even third, I do think Earn is a pretty good idea. It'll just take you a little bit of time for it to actually catch on. I don't know if it'll ever catch on, but I think it's a cool idea worth trying.
Yeah, do you think Coinbase, as big as they are, when they start buying up companies, does that concern you at all? Or is that something where let me put it this way, are you guys rooting for Coinbase at this point? Or are you neutral? Or are you kind of thinking, oh God, these guys are too big? Or how would you guys?
I'm neutral.
Okay.
I think they're probably the most important company in the United States for Bitcoin.
Right.
And the most legitimate, right? Like they just have connections and really
A lot of weight behind them at this point.
and they have a good product that works.
Yeah.
Are they the future? I don't know, but they are actively investing outside of that core business that they started, which is basically being a Bitcoin bank. And now they have like an open source protocol fund. They have Coinbase Ventures, right? They're actively seeking to allocate their hoard and put it to useful work. Hiring people, they hired a CFO. They just hired a new CTO. They have, I've looked at their job listings. They've got tons of job listings. I think it's a good thing, right?
Right.
They're definitely the first unicorn, crypto unicorn. I think.
What does that mean?
Yeah,
I-
their
I-
first
it's a startup that
company to be
becomes like
$1 billion.
billion dollars.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, and they just represent the professionalization of the space, and they
Right.
make usable stuff for average users that
Right.
aren't necessarily interested in holding their private keys and using replace by fee and setting up their own node. But they're a great bridge, and God, they're an important part of the space, and I don't hate them, but and I think they're doing positive stuff, but I don't use them in
Yeah.
particular.
What do you think, Jackson?
Me, I wish them well, but I wouldn't
wish them well.
direct.
Sounds like he's about to damn him.
Yeah, I wouldn't direct any of my friends or family to them or anybody, and I wouldn't
Right.
use them.
Why not?
I just don't think that they have the same vision for what makes Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies important to me.
Right.
But I don't think they're evil or anything like that. But I do think they are maybe getting a little bit too big, though. I think that we need competition in this space, and Coinbase, we don't want them to have a monopoly, and so we need to support the competition as well.
Yeah, it's crazy because I know there's been more fiat to crypto exchanges that have started coming out, and I've never followed up to see how well they do. Like because you and me,
Yeah.
we work for a company where we get paid in crypto, so
Yeah.
it's not like we have to buy our crypto all the time.
No, I don't.
Although we do have to sell it sometimes, I guess. But you wonder what are these other apps doing? Are they just not getting traction, or maybe they are getting traction and we're just not hearing about it? Because Coinbase is the one that gets the headlines, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we would need another big. It's very soon right now. You have things like Robinhood just rolled it out.
Right.
Cash App just rolled something out. You have some investment banks buying or indirectly buying exchanges. We just went through a huge wave, right? Like a historic wave, something that'll be a part of the financial history books.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like the third or fourth big wave in crypto. So it might take a little more time for that, what you're looking for to pick up.
I think that if Bitcoin actually does become what we hope it will be, then that last wave will be not even remembered. It'll be a blip.
I agree. I agree, especially on the geopolitical front. I mean, there's just so many. The financial system is so baked into what's happened or what goes on between nation states. There is no separation between money and state. They're all kind of interrelated.
Oh, yeah.
And everything's just so fragile right now that any type of hiccup, something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will definitely benefit from. And I think Jackson's right. The waves that we've seen, they'll just keep getting bigger and bigger, in my opinion. More and more money, not necessarily percentage wise, but just the amount of money that moves in quickly will be astonishing to people.
I want to put Kylan on the spot here for a second. So one of the other things that Coinbase is doing is that they're investing a lot in like ERC20 tokens and decentralized apps, and they bought that browser a little bit ago. Toshi. And those are the things that like I don't really believe in, but I'm still trying to be convinced of it because so many other people are. You were saying earlier with EOS that there's a lot of decentralized apps coming out that you're excited about. Could you tell me about one or two that maybe you hope Coinbase will get involved in? Or?
Yeah, I think I just did one. I just did a Sync or Sale episode on Everipedia. That was one. So they're trying to essentially become Wikipedia. They actually have the co-founder of Wikipedia on the team. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that the encyclopedia is more censorship resistant, which, okay, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, it sounds like that's a good use case. And then also trying to align the incentives so that the people editing or creating the articles, I was going to call a Wikipedia article, the encyclopedia articles have incentives. So it's something where they can actually make a little bit of money off of creating those sorts of edits. So something like that, I think it at the very least it has potential, I guess. That's just one example. I can't think of another example off the top of my head. I know there are some other ones out there. Like I don't remember their names, stuff like that. A lot of them have really dumb names actually. But when I think about EOS and stuff like that and decentralized apps, it's something that does kind of excite me. I think I've expressed this to you before, especially as a JavaScript developer. It's something where you can create an app that can leverage blockchain technology or cryptocurrency to create something that maybe wasn't possible before. And so I'm hoping that it is kind of the next how would you say it, next generation of web applications. Hopefully, though.
Yeah, I haven't watched the episode yet. I'll have to take a look.
It's fun. You can tell my enthusiasm from the episode. I had fun doing it.
It reminds me of Lunar, which is an Ethereum-based project.
Okay.
Encyclopedia.
Okay.
Or not encyclopedia, but Wikipedia-esque, right? And
Right.
People are...
Is that Lunar the one that we were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know that, but...
Yeah, and I've actually been on there. They have some articles that I've written on there, and you get paid in Lunar tokens, right? We'll see.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to start moving things along. We have a few questions here. The first one is by an old childhood friend of mine here. This is from the live feed. Maybe this is a stupid question. I had a question about, it sounds like Bitcoin mining, specifically if the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak, and what would an optimal mining pool team consist of, total members, to make it worth the effort. So he's an American. I think he lives in California. He's essentially wondering whether it's worth it to get into cryptocurrency mining at this point.
The number one concern is price of electricity. Where do you live?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You said
California.
California.
If
No.
you're in California, it's probably not that profitable.
Yeah, it's not going to be as profitable in California. I would say you can invest some money in some mining projects. There are some out there. In fact, if you talk with me, I could probably point you in the right direction. But I'd be careful of the cloud mining, the ones where it's like, oh, you just, pay for rack space and whatever. A lot of those are scams. I'm trying to think, was it Genesis Mining is the one? I think that's the one that
it's a
I
huge
always
mining
hear
pool.
about that.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, they're garbage. And I've seen a lot of users say that they are, in fact, garbage.
What does that mean by garbage? They don't pay what they're supposed to be paying?
Yeah,
Or-
they don't
Yeah.
follow on their promises,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
or expectations, I
Gotcha.
guess.
One of the things is, what did they promise to pay you? Like, they promised to pay you the block reward, which you can't prove that they made or not. So they
Yeah.
pay you whatever they feel like paying you.
Let's just say it's a very competitive industry. You don't necessarily have an advantage depending on your geography. And if you don't have any, hardware experience or people that you can trust that help you out, it's probably better to stay away from it and just save in Bitcoin.
Yeah. I would say, sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing.
I would say if you're going to do it, I wouldn't focus on Bitcoin mining. There's too many people trying to mine Bitcoin itself. So they have like algorithms and software that you can run that tell you which cryptocurrencies you can mine that will that are the most profitable at that moment. But then again, everyone's running those.
But then,
Yeah.
and they have different mining algorithms, so it's hard to
Yeah.
switch. Like you
Can't always switch. You
to-
only have a pool of
Exactly.
however many.
I would
right?
only do that if you get a lot of joy out of
That's what I was
tinkering
thinking, like a
with
hobby-
electronics.
hobbyist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you just want to because all you're doing is speculating on those coins, and if you want to speculate, just buy them, gamble that way.
Yeah, and we're past the hobby phase or just fucking around with GPUs. We're in ASIC land, so if you're not a professional and really serious about it,
We
probably
might be. Monero and Ethereum are clawing to stay in GPU land
yeah.
as
Yeah,
long as they
they are
can.
trying. And I know people who've been mining stuff like Monero with their GPUs. But I think you're right. I don't know how much money they're really making. Yeah,
I think it's great to go into if you're really serious about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward what your reward will be. If you can do some math. Yeah, and you can find a cheap electricity source, a cheap energy source. You can find a location, right?
Yeah.
If you're an entrepreneur, this is an opportunity of a lifetime if you're interested in this stuff. If not, if you're just casually, I would stay away.
Yep, your game plan is to
would-
move to Washington where power is cheap, and
Yeah,
then
or
start
Canada.
making relationships with ASIC providers.
Yeah, and there's already people who are all doing that, so you have quite a bit of competition now as well. Yeah, as you said, if you're a hobbyist, that's probably the best way to do it, because if you're interested, then you have more motivation there as well. If you're in California and you want to have one of these mining rigs in your room or something, it's my understanding that they're loud. They spit out a bunch of heat too. So during the summer, you'll probably have to turn them off. At which point, the second you start turning it off, you're talking, there goes your profits. You're gone. So if you're looking at it as like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make so much money. I mean, especially if you're in California, I would say not as much. Yeah, like you said, just put the money into Bitcoin and or
Save.
cryptocurrency and just hold it.
As an aside, I'm headed up to Washington soon, and I'm very strongly considering buying a miner and setting up in my parents' shop that they have.
Is it cold enough
ample-
there, or what area? Are they Eastern Washington?
Eastern Washington. It's really cold
That's
in
the
the
hot
winter,
spot.
but it gets hot in the summer too.
Right.
So. But I'm not gonna do anything extreme. One miner
Yeah.
tops.
It'd probably be cool. I wonder if you could like go visit some of the projects. Probably not. They probably don't want people to even come and buy.
Yeah, I actually have some friends that are doing one though, and I'm gonna try to get in there. So.
Are you going to throw some money into it? Or, like, are they taking investors?
No, I actually tried way back in the day, but they had a small room that they had, and they sold all the spots.
Man.
They sold like 10 spots and kept the rest for themselves.
Got it. Well, what do you guys think? Are there any more specific stories you want to talk about? Jason also asked about Neo and Cardano. I'll give you my 2 cents real quick, Jason, because you already got one question in. Cardano, I liked the white paper, but they're still a ways out from like having like a product that's like working, right? So I'm hopeful, but I don't know. It's up in the air right now, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and then
I like Hodgkinson.
Cardano
What's his name? The guy that's
Charles
in charge.
Hoskinson.
Yeah, he's a little pit bull.
Yeah, they don't even have a chain yet, do they?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have a blockchain. I
Right,
tried to tell someone that a few months ago. They're like, "Nah, bro, they have a token. You can already buy it." It's like, dude, that's not the same thing.
Just know if
they don't have a native blockchain yet. I don't think.
Yeah, if you think, if you buy it, you're gambling. Especially if you don't have.
They're already in the
background.
top 10 too. That's what I said earlier too. Is that with EOS already being in like 4 or 5 positions, like it can only go up so much.
Well, that's a part of like manipulating coin market cap, where if you
you
issued enough units, and you get a price level that's high enough, you can be top 10 as soon as you launch, right?
Yeah.
So
he also asked about Neo. I'll go ahead and say it. I think Neo's too centralized, so I think it's essentially. I think it's garbage personally. I started reading through the white paper. Actually, I think I got all the way through the white paper, and they're like, yeah, this part's centralized, and people were complaining. They're like, oh, well, what we're actually going to do then is we're going to start making these changes. It's like, okay, why are you making changes after you've written the white paper? Why weren't you going in with decentralization in mind in the first place? And I honestly think maybe this is my own little not stereotype, my own bigotry, but or discrimination. I don't know, call it whatever you want. But when projects come out of like East Asia, they tend to overlook decentralization to a certain extent. It's like it's not ingrained. I mean, it's not even ingrained in our culture, really, right?
Scams transcend race, right? So they're everywhere, right? And China's super sketchy, and all the East Asian things that are going. East Asian countries have super sketchy shit. Crypto is sketchy. Once you start getting out of the top 5 coins, right? Like there's hardly any of them are decentralized in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
Right. So once you start getting out of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, maybe Ethereum Classic, Monero, a couple other projects, but most of the stuff is like, it's like junk that could be pretty much considered a security at some point. Right, or they could be sued in some way, like Tezos, right? They have foundations or marketing departments, So just a good if it seems centralized, it probably is. Right?
Yeah, I like scams transcend race. I'll just
that
one. That one's good.
Some truth to that.
A lot of the East Asian countries are just starting to develop. So we've already had we already been through a certain development phase in the West, and the East is like literally just going through it. So some of the excesses of state capitalism are definitely showing, and then crypto is just like another avenue for scamminess to happen.
Right.
Because it's like all the things that you don't understand about computers and all the things you don't understand about money put together. It's just a perfect recipe for scams.
For scams, you're right. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're running a little long here. So for those of you who actually do pay attention to our Edge wallet, we just released another version. I think it's 1.1.2. And with this one, everything's getting a little bit more polished. I know we added Feathercoin and
Zcoin?
Zcoin?
Yeah, their developers put it in.
Yeah, they're easy for us to integrate. So when something's easy for us to integrate, we will integrate it. But I'm sure they're great coins as well.
Well, I don't know. We didn't even integrate.
I don't know anything about them, if I'm being honest.
Our developer or their developers put it in. We have the plugin set up and made it easy.
So if you work for a blockchain project and you want to integrate your cryptocurrency into Edge, go ahead and talk with us. We'll try to meet you halfway, and because we are excited about adding more and more currencies. We also have like a feature where you can add ERC20 tokens just by scanning a barcode. I think we're releasing an article about that. I made a couple of videos about that, so it'll be interesting to see whether people like that or whether it's just more like gimmicky. It's tokens, so I already know which way Jackson will lean. Anything else from you guys today?
No, just accumulate your bits.
That's right. Get ready for summer. Hopefully things start to heat up along with the weather. And until next time, guys, your captain and Maverick and Jackson wishing you fair winds and following seas, guys. Set sail. That is, in fact, my voice.